to My on Mondays, an explorative approach to the possessive My through narratives, art, and sound. I'm Matt Bunk. This week, Simon Schabot shares 3 essays on gardening, recorded live at a reading at Ming. This is the first of a 3-part mini-series on the theme Green and Growing. Here's Simon.
Yeah, I'm Simon. We've already established that, but this is true. And we established that from the ages of 14 to 21, I worked as a gardener at a greenhouse. And the essays, these are essays that I wrote at that time, near the end of that, reflecting on my experience. These are just a handful of them. I guess with that, I'll get started. This one's called Coleus. Our coleus start in seed plug trays. Each pot is a thumb's width and height. Each tray measures 10 pots across and 20 pots down. Seeds are thumbed and nestled into soil beds by the end of January. The soil is saturated with geothermally heated, nutrient-enriched water to coax the seeds into growth. A seed's first trimester is marked by a primary root. An umbilical cord tunneling downward is a plant's intrinsic extension of trust that, if it reaches out, the earth will feed it. The seed sends a shoot upwards towards the surface by the second trimester, a spine reaching out, trusting the sun is above. By the third trimester, the coleus's head has pushed its way out from under the soft, warm safety of soil cover and is born into a brighter, colder world. The coleus seeds remain grounded in their plugs, suckling at the water and nutrients seeping into their soil. The extension above ground is equal to their extension below, as their hunger for sunlight matches their thirst and drive. Once a web of secondary roots have become creeping out from beneath their soil covers, they are pulled from their plug tray cradles and transplanted into more spacious 4x4 inch pots. A brief period of shock is to be expected, as their toddling sprouts adjust to the wealth life can provide them. To protect them from inexperienced gardeners who trust February's frostbitten soil to nurture a fragile system, and from experienced gardeners who trust themselves to do the same, the coleus are sheltered in a greenhouse away from prying hands. Light is fed to the sprouts from weather scabbed plastic paneling overhead. Water and nutrients are supplied to the soil by acne-scabbed teenagers working their annual summer job. By the time the plants themselves are teenagers, frilled foliage with tender stalks and loud coloration, the teenagers will have grown alongside them without outgrowing the role of plant babysitter. That's the drawback of being a plant. Things happen a lot quicker. I know all of this because I was once an acne-scabbed plant babysitter, getting coleus geothermally heated, nutrient-enriched water beneath the weather-scabbed, transparent ceiling while I worked my annual summer job. Then one summer, I never left. I grew past generations of coleus and graduated to the sales floor, knowing enough to show that I know enough. The coleus graduate from tender beginnings to flamboyant middles once a person can turn their pots upside down, wriggle the plant out by the base of the stem, and view the development they've poured weeks of enzymes, hormones, and energy into. Ideally, the webs of roots contain all the soil they've been placed into with minimal loss to the floor. Sometimes, even if the roots haven't reached this stage, the coleus will graduate to the sales floor. They are lined up in pleasing rows on wooden tables and sold to eager gardeners. Before transplanting a mature coleus from his 4x4 pot into your own garden, it's a good idea to break the roots they've spent months forming. That way, they can grow to fit their new container alongside their healing process. The coleus will protest, but they'll bounce back. Continue watering and feeding the coleus that depend on you, and they'll reward you with their brilliance until the first frost welcomes their soul with open, frigid arms. The coleus that aren't chosen by gardens for their insufficiency, for smallness, for tallness, for unsightliness, for being out of fashion, being unseen, being overlooked or overgrown or undergrown or root-bound, are tossed. They are laid to rest beneath the leaves and stems of plants like them, tilled and turned into a pile, decomposed and composted. Later, they'll enrich the soil of new seeds, and the process will begin again. Replace coleus with viola, pansy, nasturtium, zinnia, or person, and you have the entire greenhouse growth process. So that was number 1. The next one, thank you. The next one is called oleander. It's a different vibe. You were a horticulturist in a growing center before becoming a high school botany teacher, you say, so you know the ins and outs of this sort of thing. This is to bypass my illusory customer service persona and dig into the real technical answers, horticulturist to horticulturist. This is unfortunate for the both of us, because behind the customer service persona I'm exuding is a 20-something who's root-bound into their old high school job. I'm just addicted to the smell of dirt, sulfur, and sunlight. I can't afford a yard to put plants in. I'm a student speaking to a teacher who thinks he's speaking to a teacher. You're teaching me more than I could ever teach you just by asking me a question. The question is about oleander. I'm not sure what oleander is until you wave your hand at a single pot and all its spear-leaved, short-shrubbed, bubblegum smoothed with the tongue and then spat out and cut into fifths flowered glory. Your high school horticulture class is a little more advanced than other Idaho courses, you admit. The trouble with teaching the class is that your classroom's greenhouse is near unattended year-round. Every weekend you come in and check on things, but God knows you're not being paid to be there. So I think to myself, crap, he wants me to recommend a plant that can survive that, and I have no clue. I've worked here my short adult life and then some, and I have no clue. Thank God you already have a plant in mind, that one oleander. Usually, I have my students propagate begonias, he explains to me with an insider smile. You know how easy they are, and surprisingly I do. But that's getting old, and I want to try something new. I thought an oleander might work, but I don't know if they're especially susceptible to spider mites. And you know how that goes, and I don't. What pesticides do you guys use to prevent spider mites, or do you introduce beneficial organisms instead? Our pesticide is Powerade Blue, and I was told not to touch it. The most beneficial organisms I can think of are praying mantises and ladybugs, and neither eat spider mites. You would be better off having asked which plants would survive an abandoned greenhouse in the dead of summer, but I desperately want to come off as on your level. Maybe I don't have a degree in greenhouse management, horticulture, or botany, but I've spent 5 years babysitting plants, and that's got to count for something. I want to look good at my job, better than my job even. I say none of this to you. Instead, I cross my arms in mimicry of your stance, purse my lips, and nod in contemplation. Maybe it'll look like I'm flipping through my internal compendium of botanical knowledge in search of the perfect problem-solving solution to your question, when I'm actually trying to decide what I can do next to make myself look intelligent. My manager is out of town, and if she weren't, I'd unclip my radio from my waist and relay the question to her. Sometimes when this happens, I tell customers she leaves information about plants on sticky notes in our break room, and then I run back there and I pull out my phone and I Google their question. And I return to them with an answer. And if I were to do that now, I don't think that you'd buy it. I've waited too long. The silence between us is too humid and stale to break it without it flaking in awkward pieces. Every tactic I've developed to make things seem under control is dissolved in the wake of your intelligence. I don't know what you say. Maybe I'll just stick with the begonias until I put more research into the oleander. That might be easier anyways. Thank God that I'm a better yes man than a botanist. Yeah, I say as an apology. That might save you the trouble. Thank you. All that is 100% true, and I read that one time after reading Sorry Short Aside, and then the guy came into my job like a day later, and I was just sat there knowing I told everyone about him.
He'll come in tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Okay, the last one is called Pineapple Sage. It's short, but it's good. My grandma's birthday beckons summer. It's the precursor to the sun. I can't remember which birthday it was, but I do remember bringing her a pineapple sage in a small terracotta pot. When its leaves are rubbed, it releases a Jimmy Buffett, umbrella staked in the sand, pina and the colada scent that lingers on your fingers. At the end of summer, my grandma sent me a picture of her in the sage. She's standing beside a tower of tiny red flowers. It dwarfs her without dwarfing her pride. The hummingbirds love it, she tells me, and it really smells like pineapple. What a meaningful arrangement. When you ask how well sage grows, I can't tell you. Taller than my grandma, but not taller than her pride for me. I just have to tell you, trust me, it gets tall. Thank you.
My on Mondays is brought to you by Ming Studios, a contemporary art space and international artist residency program in Boise, Idaho. For more information about Ming's programming, or if you'd like to participate in My on Mondays, you can visit our website at mingstudios.org. We'll be back next Monday.